This is the review for concept quiz 23 and 24, which are both on the unit circle. So in concept 23, we're just doing the basics of the unit circle. So in which quadrant are sine and cosine both positive? So the quadrants go 1, 2, 3, 4. The only quadrant where sine and cosine are both positive would be in quadrant 1. In the y direction you're positive, and in the x direction you're positive. Now, considering the unit circle, state the coordinates of the labeled points. Coordinates are x and y. On the unit circle, x represents the cosine at that point, y represents the sine. So for point A, the x coordinate is negative 1/2. The y coordinate is positive root 3 over 2. At point B, our x coordinate is 0, but the y coordinate is negative 1. And at point C, the x coordinate is positive root 3 over 2. The y coordinate is negative 1/2. In which quadrant does the angle 654 degrees lie? Well, we know that one revolution around the circle is 360 degrees. Now, if we find the difference between 654 and 360, we get 294 degrees. So after going around one revolution, I need to go another 294. This is 270, so we're going to land somewhere here in quadrant 4. So considering the point negative root 3 over 2, positive 1/2, at what radian measure does this point occur? So looking at the unit circle, if we go to negative root 3 over 2, that's in the x direction, we could be either here or here, but then positive 1/2 in the y direction, so that would have to be up here. So negative root 3 over 2 and positive 1/2 would be at 5 pi over 6 radians. Converting 120 degrees to radians, we're just looking at the spot where 120 is. That is equivalent to 2 pi over 3 radians. 5 pi over 3 radians converts to 300 degrees. And what is the reference angle of 260? The definition of reference angle is the smallest angle between this and the x-axis. So if we're at 260, we're going to be somewhere over here. The smallest way to get to the x-axis is to go this way, to 180. So between 260 and 180 is exactly 80 degrees. Alright, now on concept 24 we're finding cosine and sine and comparing in most of these problems. So cosine of 11 pi over 6, here we're positive and it's the longest leg, so this is root 3 over 2. Greater than or equal to 60, but sine of 60, that would be the longest here and positive, root 3 over 2. This is greater than or equal to this, specifically equal to, so this is true. Alright, sine of pi, if you're here, sine is the vertical length, which is 0, greater than or equal to, at 270, cosine, which is the horizontal length, is also 0. 0 is greater than or equal to 0, so that's true. So in the space at right, we're proving this is less than or equal to this. So cosine 5 pi over 4, cosine is negative, and it's the medium leg, so negative root 2 over 2. Less than or equal to 330 degrees, sine of 330 would be negative, and it's the shortest leg, which is 1/2, so negative 1/2. Negative root 2 over 2 is less than or equal to negative 1/2. If cosine of theta equals negative 1/2, which of the following is not a possible value of theta? We need to look through and check all of these to see whether the cosine is negative 1/2 or not. So at 240, the cosine is negative 1/2. At 210 degrees, the cosine is the longest leg, and it's negative, so this is negative root 3 over 2. So this is not equal. At 4 pi over 3, cosine is negative and it's the shortest, negative 1/2. And at 2 pi over 3, cosine is negative and it's the shortest, so negative 1/2. So this is the only one that's not equivalent. And lastly here, select all the expressions that are equivalent to cosine 3 pi over 4. Cosine at 3 pi over 4 is negative, and it's the medium leg, so root 2 over 2. And we're evaluating these to see which ones are also equal to that. So 135, cosine is negative, root 2 over 2, which matches. 5 pi over 4, cosine is negative, root 2 over 2. 225, cosine is also negative and root 2 over 2. And pi over 3, cosine is the shortest, which is only 1/2, so that is not equal.